This evening we have Sister Funderburg and with her assistant, little Rosalita Funderburg, and they will be discussing the theme, Will Faithful Christians Be Taken to Heaven Secretly Without Dying? And they got the information from the reasoning book, page 314, paragraphs 3 through page 315, paragraph 2. And this is a parent talking with a child. So let's look in at how they develop this thing.
So Rosalita, we had such a nice family worship last night, I thought it was really good how we studied about the paradise and how some people have the hope of living on a paradise earth forever and others of the anointed will be going to heaven. Wasn't that a good study?
Yes, but I have a question.
Oh, what is it?
I know that the anointed go to heaven, right?
That's right.
Will anyone get to see them go to heaven? Do they have to die before they go to heaven?
Whoa, those are good questions. And I'm really proud of you for taking the time to think about things like that. And it makes Jehovah really happy to see you dwelling on such deep spiritual matters like that. I have a couple minutes here before I start dinner. Maybe we could look at your questions one at a time. Does that sound good?
Sure.
Okay. Well, we used our reasoning book last night for family worship, so I have mine here. Let me see if I could find maybe a couple scriptures we could look up that might help answer your question from the Bible. So you're wondering, one of the questions you're wondering is if anyone will be able to see any of the 144,000 when they go to heaven. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I think I see a scripture here that might help us. First off, Rosa, I know that you learned since you were really little that there are some things, of course, that we can see with our eyes, but then there are spiritual things that we can't see with our eyes, although they're very real, like Jehovah and the angels and spirit creatures. So, but you're wondering, will anyone be able to see the anointed when they're traveling, when they go to heaven? Let's see. I think I see scripture that might help answer that. It's at 1 Corinthians 15:50, and I can read that for us. I'll read that one. That says, "However, this I say, brothers, that flesh and blood cannot inherit God's kingdom. Neither does corruption inherit incorruption." So, Rosa, it says here that flesh and blood cannot inherit God's kingdom. That would be like heaven. So flesh and blood, that's our skin, bones, blood. That's just what makes us a human, our flesh and blood. So flesh and blood, it can't go to heaven. It has to be a spirit creature that would go to heaven. So does that kind of help answer your first question? Would anyone be able to see the anointed go to heaven?
Yes.
They'd be able to see them, you think?
No, because they're spirit creatures, and that means no one will get to see them.
You got it. That's exactly right. But what's interesting, Rosa, is a lot of people, when they meet out in service, some of them believe that people in their flesh and blood bodies would actually go to heaven almost in some secret way, that they would be just snuck off to heaven. But let's look at another scripture that helps us to see that that's not true. It's on that same page, actually, there in 1 Corinthians chapter 15. Let's look at verses 35, 36, and 44. Would you like to read that verse 35 there?
Sure. Nevertheless, someone will say, how are the dead to be raised up? Yes, with what sort of body are they coming?
Okay, and I'll read 36. It says, "You unreasonable person, what you sow is not made alive until first it dies." And verse 44, "It is sown a physical body, it is raised up a spiritual body. If there is a physical body, there is also a spiritual one." So we see here again, it's not a physical body. That's the same thing as our flesh and blood body. It's not a physical body that goes to heaven. It's a spiritual body, like you said, one that we can't see. So, and to get this spiritual body, those are the 144,000, kind of makes sense that they would follow the same pattern that Jesus did. When Jesus was on earth, he was flesh and blood human just like us. But then when he went to heaven, remember we read about how he had a spiritual body. So what would the anointed have to do, like Jesus did, to get their spiritual body?
They would have to die.
Yes, I think that answers your second question. I hear Ezra and Quinny coming. I better get dinner started. But thank you for asking those questions. This was fun answering. And make sure you ask your dad anytime you have any questions like that, okay?
Okay.
Okay.